Would you please stand, joining the members of the class of '88, join in the singing of our national anthem, and remain standing following the anthem for a moment of silence. Thank you. Would you please be seated? At this time, I would like to introduce our distinguished guests and officers of the senior class. We are honored to have members of the District 116 Board of Education with us today. These people give so freely of their time and talents to shape the educational policy of this district. Prior to honoring our graduates, we would like to recognize the sincere efforts of the Board of Education as they worked for the class of '88. Would you please hold your applause until all have been asked to rise. Dr. Donald White was out of town and able to be with us today. Board members present are Ms. Jean Burkholder, President of the Board, Mr. Norman Baxley, Mr. John Dimmitt, Mr. Jefferson Humphrey, Ms. Patricia Turnbull, and Mr. Robert Waller. Ladies and gentlemen, the District 116 Board of Education. The following students are officers and members of the Urbana High School class of 1988. Would they please stand as I call their names and remain standing, again, if you would hold your applause until all have been introduced. Mr. Charles R. Hall, President of the class of '88. Ms. Krista M. Weber, Vice President. Ms. Robin L. Tepper, Secretary. Ms. Laura C. Cowger, Treasurer. Ms. Heather A. McMullen, Student Senate Representative. Ms. Cynthia G. Shaw, Student Senate Representative. Mr. Edwin A. Charlo, Publicity Chairperson. And Ms. Julia S. Kemp, Student Senate President. Ladies and gentlemen, officers and members of the class of 1988. Representing the Urbana High School faculty are the co-sponsors of the class of 1988, Ms. Karen C. Robertson and Ms. Jean M. Williams. The rest of the administrative team at Urbana High School on the stage is the Associate Principal at Urbana High School, Mr. Ron Garretts, and seated with the students in the audience, the Assistant Principals, Ms. Grace Ashenfelter and Mr. Jerry Daly. The Superintendent of Schools for District 116 is Dr. Lee Grebner. And our final platform guest will be introduced shortly. For each of you that I have introduced in your own way, we do appreciate the contributions you have made for these graduating seniors. Ms. Tepper.
had his first job working as a sports writer for the News Gazette for 90 cents an hour in 1958. He received his first professional writing award for an article he wrote about the Urbana basketball team. And our commencement speaker for today was a 1960 graduate of Urbana High School. During his 4 years at Urbana, he was associate editor and sports editor of the school newspaper, The Echo. He was president of his senior class, an active speech and drama participant, and a member of the swim team. Roger Ebert has gone on to become one of the most successful journalists in the country. Since his graduation from the University of Illinois in 1964, he's been a film critic for both ABC and NBC television in Chicago and a syndicated movie critic for the Chicago Sun-Times. He is seen by millions of television viewers each week on his Siskel and Ebert at the Movies. He has also taught at a number of universities and is the author of several books. Mr. Ebert received a Pulitzer Prize for critical writing in 1975 and an Emmy Award in 1979 for his journalistic accomplishments. Mr. Ebert truly represents the success and excellence we will all be striving for after graduation. It is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Roger Ebert.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tepper, for a very nice introduction. President Burkholder, members of the Board of Education, Dr. Grebner, Principal Zeck, sponsors, officers, family, members, friends, and members of the class of 1988. Welcome and congratulations. You know, I think I'm as short as Robin Tepper is. I think I'm not up there with Principal Zeck. You know, you reminded me of something in your introduction that I haven't thought of in a long time, and that is that I did win my first professional writing award for a story I wrote about the Urbana Tigers. It was a sports writing award that the Illinois Associated Press gave out, and that award meant a lot to me in more ways than one because it got me off the hook with Coach Warren Smith. It was actually about the football team, not the basketball team, and that fall of 1959, the Urbana Tigers were going into the second to the last game of the season undefeated, even though we had the smallest team in the Big 12, and we're certainly the smallest school in the Big 12. And then we were upset. We lost by 2 points. And at the time, I was a senior in high school. I went back to the News Gazette and I got next to the typewriter and started to think about how I could cover this vast and important event and how I could do justice to the sense of disappointment that I felt, because there was no pretense in my mind that I was being in the slightest bit impartial. I was a Tiger fan. Had to learn about impartiality in journalism a little bit later. So after about 6 or 7 false starts, I finally wrote the following words, which I remember to this day very, very clearly. The royal coach turned into a pumpkin, the glass slipper was shattered and broken, and the Cinderella Urbana Tigers stumbled and fumbled and fell here Friday night. The score was 21-19. Well, it was a heck of a story. As I told you, it went on to win the Associated Press Prize. But when I turned up for football practice on Monday, Coach Smitty wouldn't let me in. And he said, "Nobody calls me a pumpkin in the paper." You don't understand, it's the royal coach. It's like it's from Cinderella. It's kind of a literary illusion. He says, well, it's too much of an illusion for me. So when that finally won the prize, then Smitty kind of softened up a little bit and allowed us how it might not have been a bad story. And when I saw him at our 10th high school reunion, he was even sort of remembering that story with kind of a vague, halfway fondness, I think, although I'm not sure. I was asked backstage by Dr. Grebner a few moments ago if I gave very many commencement speeches. And I had to say that, in fact, this was my first commencement speech. In fact, this is only my 3rd commencement, and in the previous 2 commencements that I attended, I'm glad to say that I commenced. But when Robin Tepper wrote me a letter last December or January asking me to speak here this afternoon, I immediately said yes, because, of course, it would be the commencement for Urbana High School. Urbana High School is not only my alma mater, Urbana is not only my hometown and also the hometown of my parents, but Urbana High School means so much to me, and it meant so much to me, and has all through my life because of the start I got here and the opportunities I was given. And so, of course, I said yes. I think this is going to be the first speech I've given in 21 years that doesn't have anything to do with the movies. But maybe that will be a relief, certainly a relief for me. I am a Chicagoan now. That's where I work and I live and I pay my taxes. But as I was driving down here to Urbana over the weekend, it occurred to me that at the age of 45, it would still be true to say that I've spent more than half of my life right here in Urbana. Well, okay, in Champaign too, I suppose, both places. When you're growing up, you take it more or less for granted that you live where you live and that's where you go to school. It's only later that you begin to think of your hometown as a hometown and to figure out for yourself how it was different from other places and what special things it contributed to your life. In my case, this city and Urbana High School and the University of Illinois contributed a great deal, not only in what they did for me, but also in what they allowed me to do, the opportunities they gave me to find out about myself and what my skills were. In high school, I was kind of a weird kid. I always had my nose stuck in a book, and I had all kinds of strange projects in my mind, and the teachers that I had at Urbana High School went along with that individuality and encouraged it. I remember when all of we members of the Urbana High School Science Fiction Club, which was kind of a blanket organization for the school nerds, made our own tape recording of the Orson Welles War of the World broadcast, sound effects and all, and we actually broadcast it over the school PA system. Well, it was in the afternoon. It was after school. It wasn't actually during classes, but what the heck, it was a great experience to hear our voices booming out of those speakers. And one of the actors on that tape was a kid named Dave Stiers, who later went on to become David Ogden Stiers and play Colonel Winchester on MASH. And I've got to tell you, having known him at Urbana High School, Colonel Winchester was not a performance. He was exactly like that when he was a junior in high school. He would walk into class and he would talk to the teachers, "Good afternoon. What are we going to be studying today?" Nobody knew quite what to make of him, so they put on Life with Father as a senior play, and he got to let his hair go gray and play Father. That was back when he still had hair. I don't know what kinds of faculties other high schools had at the time, but I remember my years at Urbana High School as a kind of an enchanted time when the teachers seemed to be coming up with new and amazing things every day, and school was always an adventure, and mostly I loved it, all except for Latin and algebra, which I was never able to love and was barely able to pass. Principal Zeck said he didn't quote from it at any point. Returning to the Twin Cities this weekend, it was almost impossible for me to drive down any street in Urbana or Champaign without remembering something. This morning I drove down the Washington Street where I was born and where I grew up, saw the houses of all of my neighbors at that time and all the people who lived there, where my friends used to live. I think I still know all of the stops on my old paper route for the late lamented Champaign-Urbana Courier. And I went past the farm where we had the hay rack ride after the senior prom. It's now a subdivision, but I still know where it is. I drove down Philo Road past the location of the radio station where I had my voice was broadcast on the air for the first time. I was a real groupie of the disc jockeys out there, and I go hang around and offer to alphabetize their records for them, and they once let me give the time on the air. The time is 3:14, I said. And I went past Johnston's Sports Shop where I had my very first part-time job, and of course the News-Gazette where I worked full-time for the first time. It was hard for me to believe that the same people don't still live in those same houses. I felt like I was in the twilight zone and I could knock on some of those doors and continue conversations that were just sort of interrupted briefly. A 19 example, I remember a day between my junior and senior years in high school when I had a summer job as a junior reporter at the News-Gazette. And I was sent over here to interview Max Abramovich, the University of Illinois graduate who designed this building. He was the architect. And on that day, he had come out from New York to supervise the wrapping of the rim of this hall with 500 miles of high-tension steel wire, the same wire that literally holds the building together even to this day so that there don't need to be any pillars inside. And they had a big machine going around and around wrapping that wire. And then when the wire was all wrapped, they were going to take off the scaffolding and see what happened. And so I asked him, well, how does it feel? And he looked up at the hall and he said, this is going to be the best thing I've ever designed in my entire career if it doesn't fall down. Well, I wrote that story. You got to figure I was 16 and a half or 17 at the time, quoting this famous architect. And Bill Smelsley, the city editor of the News-Gazette, asked me, he said, "Roger, are you sure he said that? Did he really say that?" And I said, "Yeah, he really said that." And so Smelsley said, "Well, I hope he's right." And he put it in the paper. And that kind of trust that was given to me and to other people at that time, my generation, was part of the way we grew up here, and it was part of the way I think that we got a good start in life. Coming over here this afternoon, I took a moment to drive around Urbana High School, of course, and I was so happy to see that it is being preserved and renewed and new construction is going on instead of the plan to tear the building down. Somehow, I knew they'd never really tear down Urbana High School. I was reminded of that old Joni Mitchell song where she sings, "Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? Tear down paradise, put up a parking lot." Well, they left up paradise. Driving past the school, I made a bet with myself that I could still find my way around the corridors blindfolded, but Principal Zeck tells me I wouldn't have a chance. Everything's been changed inside. I get lost right away. But I know if I'd gone into the building, I would have seen a lot of ghosts there and had a lot of good memories. It was in Urbana High School that I grew from a child to a young adult, and it was in that building that I was encouraged to use and develop whatever skills I had. It was there that I wrote my very first newspaper story for the Urbana High School Echo, and it was there that I appeared in a play for the first time, and it was there that I read a story by Ernest Hemingway for the first time, and kissed a girl for the first time, and dissected a frog for the first time. And I missed it all. I even missed the frog. You know, I think all of us would appreciate high school biology a little bit more if we fully realized at the time that this was going to represent the only opportunity in a lifetime, our last chance for most of us to look inside a frog. I mean, that's it. If you didn't take a good look, that's it. You had your chance. A building is made of bricks and mortar, but sometimes if it lives long enough, it absorbs a few dreams and memories along the way. But that's something you don't always realize when you're a student at the place. It's only later, after all of the homework and essays and tests and exams and feuds and anger and broken romances and broken hearts and SAT scores and detention halls and sports defeats, and only later, a long time later, after all of those little setbacks fade away, that you begin to remember the place with a certain innocence and nostalgia, and you start to really appreciate it. There will come a time, 10 or 20 or 30 years from now, when you'll hear a song on the radio and suddenly everything will come flooding back. The excitement of being young, of experiencing things for the first time, of finding out you're actually pretty good at certain things, even maybe some of the subjects you originally didn't want to take. It's in high school that most of us are confronted for the first time with important decisions of right and wrong that we must make for ourselves. And I sometimes think that those years are the most challenging and exciting of a whole lifetime, as we discover not only freedom, but responsibility, not only what we can do, but realistically, what we cannot do. The high school years prepare you for everything that comes later on. It is not an accident, then, that this ceremony is called commencement rather than graduation. A commencement is not a day when something ends, but a day when it begins. And this is the last day when you will all be together as a group, as the class of 1988. The real world starts tomorrow. Maybe it even starts at midnight tonight. And the world you face in 1988 is a lot different than the one that my class, the class of 1960, faced on our commencement day. On that day in June, 28 years ago, a man named John F. Kennedy was running for president. The world was more or less at peace. America was the strongest and richest country in the world, and it seemed like it was getting stronger every day. You could make 3% on your money down at the Busey Bank, and tuition at the University of Illinois that year was $123 a semester. Some people still thought Elvis Presley was shocking. Nobody had heard of the Beatles. That was so long ago, those old TV shows that you see on cable today, we were actually seeing for the first time. And the only automobiles that most people had ever heard of were manufactured in Detroit, Kenosha, or South Bend. We had some lessons to learn. All of us did. All of we Americans had some lessons to learn on that day 28 years ago. The first thing we had to lose was our sense of innocence. And that happened for many of us on November the 22nd, 1963, when John Kennedy was assassinated. And then we learned it again on the days when we buried Martin Luther King and Bobby Kennedy. We learned that the world could not be counted on to simply roll merrily along, and that it was not going to be easy to live in a time when dreams could be ended with a $25 handgun. We also learned in the early 1960s that we did not necessarily live in a land of liberty and justice for all. The South was still legally segregated in 1960, and the North had de facto segregation. It took the civil rights movement of the 1960s, a movement that has still not finished its work, to open our eyes to the racism and injustice in our society. We learned some other things, too. We learned in Vietnam that America might be the strongest nation on earth, but that didn't mean that we could necessarily win every war, and it also didn't mean that every war was necessarily a great idea. By the end of that decade, America had landed men on the moon, but that turned out to be easy compared to the tragedies of poverty, drug abuse, hunger, illiteracy, and violence that are still with us. I guess what I'm saying is that you, the class of 1988, are going out to face and cope with a world that looks considerably less rosy than the one that we faced a couple of generations ago. Your loss of innocence came early, and it happened every time you read the newspaper or watched the news on television. You already know a lesson that we still had to learn, that the world is not an easy place, it's not a simple place, and sometimes it's not even a very pleasant place. You can't automatically count on good jobs and good paychecks and a long and peaceful lifetime for yourself and for your children. Those goals are reachable, and they are possible, but they have to be worked for, and now the job is partially yours. There is a time in life when you assume, even without thinking about it, that decisions about the world are made by adults and for adults. Then there comes a chilling day when you realize that although that may indeed be true, it doesn't get you off the hook because now you are an adult. That day comes at a different point in everyone's life, but I think for convenience we can say that it comes today, on Commencement Day. This is the day you have to stop taking the world for granted and realize that now you have a responsibility too. Your first responsibility is to yourselves. And I think it involves doing whatever you can to see that your gifts and talents are developed as fully as possible. That may mean going on to college or learning a trade or going into the military service. It may mean marriage or a family, taking a full-time job, or maybe even doing what I never had the nerve to do and just getting in a car and pointing it down the interstate at California. I can't tell you what your responsibility is, but that's okay, because I think that most of you know it for yourselves. In our hearts, we always know what the next right thing is that we should do, and the only trick is to have the courage to do it. On this Commencement Day, I'd like to encourage you to make a hard-boiled assessment of yourself, who you are, what you're like, what's good about you, what's bad about you, what has to be worked on, and then go to work. And don't let anybody tell you that you shouldn't have your dreams, because if you compromise now, you'll compromise again and again, and eventually you'll be in mourning for your lost opportunities. But if you make that assessment of yourself and follow through on it, then you will have met your first responsibility after commencement, which is to yourself. The second responsibility is to your society. We all live in this world together, and John Donne told the simple truth when he said that no man is an island. What we do affects the lives and happiness of those around us. I don't think there's any question but that the single worst and most tragic change in American society since I graduated from high school is the spread of the tragic epidemic of drug and alcohol abuse, which is tearing apart families and neighborhoods and whole cities. Now that the epidemic seems to have reached some kind of a peak and is leveling off, maybe we're coming to our senses again. I would like to think we all have a responsibility not to choose self-destruction, to give our families, our friends, and our society the benefits of all the talents which we have been given. It's cowardly and sad to choose instead a lifestyle that involves shutting out the world and retreating into some kind of private prison cell for the mind. So that's a responsibility both to ourselves and to society. Another responsibility is to the physical world we live in, this planet we call Earth, which is so beautiful and so fragile. I was looking at a videotape the other day of the photographs taken by the spacecraft Voyager on its tour through the solar system, and I realized with a really dramatic shock how very small our planet is and how alone we are in the vastness of space. And now every day I read in the newspaper about the holes in the ozone layer and the destruction of the rainforest and the pollution of civilization that's killing life in the seas. And I wonder how we can be so indifferent to this destruction of the home of the human race. Your generation is going to have to live with some of the thoughtless destruction and pollution that my generation and previous generations have caused. It is all of our responsibilities not to pass it on to your children. And then there is one final responsibility which I would like to mention, and that is the responsibility to the future. And on this commencement day, I think I should add to your own personal future, certainly. I graduated from high school at a time of boundless optimism. Everything seemed to be going pretty much all right, and the Beach Boys promised in a famous song that we were all going to have fun, fun, fun till our daddy takes her T-bird away. Well, today's popular music promises not a paradise, but an apocalypse. And I think among young people in general, there is more cynicism than there used to be. Now, part of that cynicism is good. You are realistic and you see things as they are. But cynicism must never be allowed to become defeatism and despair. I've read public opinion surveys in the last week taken of high school graduates who are not very hopeful about the prospects before them, who see the future as a bleak and forbidding place. And to them I would suggest that the future is a precious resource channeled through each one of our lives individually, and that what we do with it, how we employ it, is largely a matter of our own personal choice. I would urge you to reject the temptations of negativism and cynicism and to embrace the notion that you, each one of you, is a special, unique, valuable, and irreplaceable person. You hold it within your power to find happiness and a useful purpose and to create a future that you will be content to live in, proud to pass on to the next generations. You've worked hard during high school. You've gotten up early, you've stayed up late, you've done your homework, you've done things you didn't want to do, you've gone out in the middle of the winter to go to class when it would have been more fun to watch the Good Morning America or something. You've worked hard and you've earned the diplomas that you will receive today. And that's what high school is all about. And in the last analysis, that's what life is all about. So good luck, good health, good fortune, and congratulations. Thank you.
What has been so special about the class of 1988? We have been able to work together to accomplish many things. We've been able to do this because of the spirit we had. Not only a class spirit, but an individual kind of spirit, which helped us to complete everything with skill and good humor. We always had fun at class events, such as float building and the class picnic. Yet we were able to do so and still get things done. Our class president is the perfect example of this. Everyone knows our class president, Charlie Hall, has a great sense of humor. Yet he has also been able to provide the class with the leadership necessary to accomplish such things. It is a great pleasure for me to present our class president, Charlie Hall.
Thanks, Julie. When I look out at all of you, I see everybody that I've known for so many years. But I realize that you're all different people. We've changed so much since we first came to high school, it's scary. And these changes are taking us to a new beginning. A place in our life where we look back at what we've accomplished, but more importantly, we look ahead, see what we want to accomplish, and strive after that goal. We've been told from the age of I don't know how young that we can be whatever we want to be and accomplish whatever we want to accomplish. Well, now is the time that we have to prove this. This is when we have to take all of our knowledge and education and whatever else we've picked up over the years and go out there and prove ourselves in the real world. This isn't an easy thing for many people to do because we live in a very competitive world where everybody's striving to be the best and the fastest. We have to make so many decisions in such a short period of time in order to succeed. Especially considering a few weeks ago, most of our decisions were made for us. We were told where we were going to go to school, when we were going to go, and in many cases, how we were going to get there. But now, in one fair swoop, we've got to say goodbye to all our friends, our high school lives, and all the securities that went along with them, and go out there and be the best. It's all so confusing and new to us. How do we make sense of it all? Well, I thought about it for a while, and I realized you really don't need to. Live your life to make yourself happy. Don't be afraid to try something new or something different. Don't be afraid to rebel a little in the name of a good cause. And never be afraid to speak up when you feel the need to be heard. Each of you is your own person ready to burst out in the world and show them what you've got and what you can do it. So don't let any of your ideas or talents go to waste. Trust yourself, believe in yourself, and then you'll be happy with yourself. Probably the hardest part about giving this speech today is saying goodbye to all of you. I've known many of you all my life, and the rest of you long enough to know I'm going to miss you all. We've shared a lot of memories and experiences together, and I'd like to thank you for them all, because whether bad or good, they've all helped me grow to the person I am today. We've been together for a long time. I've never really thought about saying goodbye to all of you. We've been together so long, until now. But the more I think about it, the more ridiculous it seems to say goodbye, because you'll always be with me, in my heart and in my mind. I'd like to thank you for everything you give me, and wish you all the best of luck. And for now, instead of saying goodbye, I'd just like to say thanks for all the memories. Good luck.
Dr. Grebner, would you please come forward? Dr. Grebner, these students in front of you have fulfilled all requirements for graduation from Urbana High School as established by the Board of Education of School District 116 and the state of Illinois. I ask that they be presented with diplomas of graduation to certify this accomplishment. I present to you these candidates for diplomas, the Urbana High School graduating class of 1988.
Thank you, Dr. Zeck. I've attended many graduation exercises, and I find that this particular program today is especially touching and memorable. So it's with special satisfaction that I accept Dr. Zeck's certification that you members of this graduating class are qualified for your diplomas. That acceptance is expressed in behalf of all members of the Board of Education seated before you on this platform, and also I would presume to accept you graduates in behalf of all the teachers you have had since that first day long ago, or not so long ago, that you entered kindergarten 13 years in the past. All of them, all of us, have a stake not only in your education, but in you as persons. So members of this class, please present yourself. Members of the Urbana High School staff and members of the Board of Education of School District 116.
Again, as we present these diplomas today, we would ask that you hold your applause until all students have received their diplomas. Donald D. Adams. Kevin Richard Anderson. Keno LaRon Anderson. Shannon Maria Archie. Julie K. Harry. Matthew James Armstrong. Rizal Tajul Eris. Jason Andrew Atwood. Jennifer Lynn Bach. John Jacob Ballback. Lori Ray Baldwin. Michael Raymond Barkus. Jason Edward Barham. Erin Mary Barkley. Tanya Lynn Barnett. Joanne Berry. Elizabeth Ann Bear. Myron Richard Bennett. Gregory Allen Burt. Carla G. Bladen. Jean Louise Bloom. Melinda J. Bonnell. Camille Ann Bauslog. Tessa Jane Bowen. Heather Colleen Brady. Receiving a certificate of attendance as a foreign exchange student is Soraya Brown. Annie Shell Brown. Deborah Louise Brown. Sunny Ray Brown. LaShondra Fenice Brownlee. Anthony Albert Bergstrom. Nancy Jane Burns. Scott Robert Burnsmeyer. Monica Aaron Burris. Christopher Edward Calder. Michael Allen Calloway. Stacy Renee Carter. Stephen Wayne Carter. Carol Ann Calkin. Paul Andrew Cromack. Alicia Marie Clover. Michael Joseph Cochran. Benjamin Brian Cohen. Christina Marie Colby. Sandra Lynn Collins. Stacy Marlene Collins. Joseph Allen Colon. Jason Lee Combs. Aaron Joseph Cook. Toby M. Cooper. Angelique Lenee Cordy. Brad David Courtwright. Mitra Ronayne Cowan. Tina Christie Crawford. Stacy Lynn. Matthew Benjamin McDonald Crummy. Candy Lee DeVille. Stephanie Faye Deloney. Sherilyn K. Denny. Rebecca Dickel. Anastasia Diana Dill. Matthew Darren Dollins. James A. Donald. Brian Keith Donaldson. Melanie Marie Teresa Draves. Ann B. Dreves. Dolores Christine Dubson. Denise M. Dubson. Stephanie Renee Dunn. Michelle Therese Dupree. Andrew Thomas Elder. Darcy Lynn. Suzanne Denise Engelbretson. Christy Marie Erickson. Daniel E. Irwine. Melissa Renee Everett. Leif E. Faber. Wayman Hycetus Fuel. Troy Michael Flessner. Eddie Dean Flowers. Mitchell Edwin Forrest. April Michelle Freese. Nancy Allison Garrett. Deanne Lynn Gentry. Shannon Nicole Gillespie. Shara Sue Gingold. Stephen Gingold. Constance Tina Glass. Michael Paul Govert. Alan Griffin. Lyle Jason Guyon. Stacy Suzanne Hall. Virginia Kathleen Hall. Joseph Lynn Hampton. Baina Sherry Harmon. Chad Eric Hassinger. Dana Michelle Hatter. Carla Sue Helmick. Corey James Henderson. And Jeanette Marie Hill. Audrey Elizabeth Hillsdorf. Kevin Hines. Phuc Nhat Ho. Lisa Yvonne Hockman. Elizabeth Faye Hole. Frances Tenna Cornelia Hoff. Nicole Elisa Hoffman. Nicole Delane Howry. Tony A. Jacob. Jonathan Harris Jacobson. Stephanie Lynn James. Liza Jane Johnson. Michelle Ruth Johnson. Thomas Lee Johnson. Terry Jones. Matthew Abraham Cagle. David Karasik Jr. Gordon Edward Kay. Roger Dale Kelly. Jerry M. Kelly. Darren Michael Kennedy. Song Kim. Loretta B. King. June Raphael Kinoshita. Tammy T. Kais. Luella Lynn Landgraver. Tanya Catherine Lane. Michael James Larson. Mark Richard Laughlin. Lisa Lynn Lauman. Kenda C. Lawless. Kevin Martin Luthold. Scum. David Arthur Livesey. Matthew Gordon Ludwinski. Charles Matthew Madsen. Catherine Ellen Maggs. Gavin Connell McGuire. Jennifer Lynn Merritt. Haven Lynn Marlowe. Tina Louise Martin. Jennifer Marie Mathis. Kenneth Arthur Mathis. Amantha Sam May. Amanda Claire McAllister. Joel Thomas MacArthur. Nancy Ellen McCabe. Percy Lee McDonald. Deanna K. McConaughey. Virginia Marie McMath. Larry McMillian. Joshua E. Medine. Danielle Leanne Medro. Shane Allen Michael. Anthony Lamont Miles. Christopher John Patrick Miller. Jeffrey Nels Mala. William Eugene Morphy. Tamerlyn Danae Motley. Matthew Allen Moyer. Robert James Nash. Ka Trung No. Shang Min Nguyen. Kim Nak Thi Nguyen. Matthew Austin Nichols. William Michael Nolan. Kenneth Wayne Odom. Sharon Elaine Otis. Bo Randall Ott. Jason R. Patterson. John Michael Patterson. Shonda Michelle Patterson. Tammy Lynn Paul. Jacqueline Janine Peacher. Marcy Lynn Peebler. A. Danielle Peverly. Kelly Lynan Poley. Alan Nathaniel Polk. Susan Elizabeth Poole. Laura Lynn Poore. Nicole Metashell Porcaris. Dale Porter. Joseph Bernard Powell. Vorakith I. Radanavong. Buakan Ravan. James Burren Reese. Randolph H. Rice. Leonid Reitman. Robin Adiadata Robinson. Jason Thomas Rothgeb. Michael Shannon Rumsey. Michael J. Russell. Maurice LaShawn Sago. Bradley Richard Shugel. Robert George Schultz III. John Joseph Scrimshire. Roger Allen Siemens. David W. Simpkins. Stephanie Ann Slade. Vicki Jean Slade. Angela L. Smith. Byron Smith. Dion Marie Smith. Teresa Marie Smith. Ronald J. Stevenson. Leslie Leroy Stover. Lisa Lynette Sullivan. Marquita Delane Sykes. Tao Lin Tang. Thuyen Vong Tang. Robert Allen Testori. Bernie Lizzie Thatch. Sherian Denise Thomas. Tobias Montez Thomas. Desiree Nashawn Thompson. Anahita Ani Tiku. Travis Wade Toller. Rita Ann Townsend. Donald Ray Tucker. Anton Preston Tawarnovich. Dawn E. Vandeveld. James Paul Voigtlander. Michael Johannes von Bodman. Ray Louise Waite. Christopher William Ward. David Henry Ward. Jackie Wardlow. Clarissa Denise Owens. Walter Timothy Watts. Jamie Ann Weber.
There you go.
Roger Quinn Weber. Lawrence Preston Welch. Catherine C. Wendell. Sean Allen Wetzel. Scott Windsor. Julie Patricia Wolf. Carissa Marie Wolfersberger. Jennifer D. Wozencraft. Kevin Wayne Yance. Elwa J. Zwetler. Matthew Lee Livingston. Shad Michael Barker. Laura Carol Cowger.
Look out.
Julia Suzanne Kemp. Heather Ann McMullen. Edwin A. Charlo. Cynthia Gale Shaw. Robin Leslie Tepper. Krista Marie Weber. And Charles Ridgely Hall.
Now, if you all rise, we can get on to the celebrating. Celebrating of 13 years of hard work and celebrating our movement on to bigger and better things. So now if you, 1988 graduating class of Urbana High School, would join with me in the turning of the tassels. Way to go.
Let me be the first to congratulate all of you who are now graduates and alumni of Urbana High School. You have made a significant achievement. I hope you do feel a sense of pride in your accomplishments thus far in your lives. We expect many great things from you as you take your place as adults, as Mr. Ebert said, in the community of the future. We ask that you do come back and see us as he has done here at Urbana High School. Finally, to all of the parents and relatives of those graduates in the audience, congratulations to all of you also. We would be remiss if we did not recognize your contributions leading to this day and also recognize and show our appreciation for them. Senior members of the platform party, would you please lead your fellow 1988 Urbana High School graduates from Assembly Hall so that they might continue their celebration today with family and friends. Thank you.